Thanks for having us. I'm Mateus from Outlandish, as Becky said. We're a worker co-op, so that essentially means that everyone that works at Outlandish gets to own Outlandish. It's great fun and a bit difficult at the same time. And everyone that works at Outlandish is either a developer, a designer, or a project manager. We've got a couple of things like around the subject of design for good, and what I want to talk about today is like under the hood, like within studios, about where it starts and where it stops. So design for good can mean like something that we all interact with and experience, but then question like how have we, like what do we hold as design for good in the and consume it, but how do we operate in a good way as well. I did graphic design at Teesside University and just rode the end of the wave where it was like still like printing and gluing and sticking stuff and cardboard and book binding and all that stuff. And then as I got a job, I moved into making websites, little animations, all that sort of stuff. So we're a worker co-op, and everyone's got the opportunity to own Outlandish, as I said before. And a lot of the work we usually do is kind of based around big data. So we're like inverted studio where we've got a lot of developers and only a couple of designers. So a lot of our projects have a lot of like numbers, metrics, clunky stuff around it, and then it's our job to kind of like decide what the best interpretation of this data is. And a lot of the stuff involves like data dashboards, bespoke tools, and websites. And I'm going to go into a couple of examples later on, but first is this whole kind of like design for good, where it starts and stops. I think that's essentially it when I'm like trying to explain it. How we kind of like present something and say, yeah, this is great, this is designed for good, but actually how we've produced it might not be. Like whether that's ethically, whether we're exploiting junior designers, developers. Like we can do a design for good project, but we might be quite a big, massive agency that is exploiting all its workers and taking profit. So Outlandish is a worker co-op, and we're based on the Rochdale's pioneers. So back in there was a bit of a crisis, and the people that were working in the wool mills up north in Rochdale all banded together and formed a cooperative, and they all like cared and worked with each other, and no one was left without. And essentially they then formed what is now like modern day cooperative, and they built the rules and principles that we adhere to. This is us. So there's a few of us, and the way we work allows us to breathe in and out. So we work on jobs, so we get contracted on work. So when it's busy, there's like loads of us. When it's quieter, we can grow and shrink quite easily. We're not all committed full time. We get sold onto projects. Outlandish originally started with 4 people sat around a kitchen table, and it kind of works for that when you're a partnership. They just like split the profits straight down the middle, easy. As you kind of grow, you need to like change your business model and like figure out what's right for you. We went through a whole load of different versions of Outlandish. I think we're on like Outlandish 5.0 now. And when I joined, I was originally an employee, so I was given a job. Here's some nice projects, do some work, nice one. But then we found out that it wasn't really working that way, and actually by opening up the company to everyone that worked there and want to own it, you get a much more sense of value and worth, and it's like now it's my business as well, so I definitely don't want to mess it up, and it's everyone's business together. Outlandish exists for its workers. We've got this mission, right? So I'm not going to read it out because it's long, but essentially a shortened version is tech for a fairer, better world. Everyone can join Outlandish as a collaborator, which is essentially a freelancer. We might sell a project to a big charity and we need some developers, designers, we get them on board and they're a collaborator. And this is like what enables us as an organisation, as a co-op, to deliver design for good projects or tech for good projects. Everyone after 3 months of being a collaborator, 3 months of working days, can become an Outlander. And an Outlander is like next step. You're on the pathway to owning it. One thing to say about Outlandish and members is that we have a 3-to-1 pay ratio. So no one is paid 3 times more than anyone else. Often freelancers have higher day rates, but it's been really nice that people actually want to be part of Outlandish and want to join. And I think these kind of internal, seems a bit weird, but like these internal things that we've designed and like made work for us, it's really nice when you get an email from a collaborator saying, I want to be an Outlander and I'm happy to reduce my day rate. We do that so that we make better profit margins, which then fund our Tech for Good projects. And so I was a collaborator and then an Outlander and then a member. And that is like pretty much every day, regardless whether we're busy or not, because we're always trying to like sell work, find work, do work, deliver work, collaborate on projects. But it's great fun. I wouldn't have it any other way. Outlandish runs in circles. So like massive organisations have departments and they don't really talk to each other. But we have these circles that if you're into it, you can be in the circle, they're all open, they all communicate with each other, so each little dot's like a person, and they can all make decisions. So we don't have any bosses at Outlandish, no management. We just have people that own the business and people that have an equal say, so even collaborators and Outlanders have a vote, can make proposals. And we all kind of like fall into a few of these circles, so I'm in design, resourcing, biz dev, and the member circle. And essentially these circles are like operating on behalf of us, and I think that this has been a really good thing to introduce because it allows us to focus on the work. Like we know that people that are into the finance, they're doing it, and like the tech, all the devs that are in the tech circle, they're on top of all the security issues, what techs we should be using, what we shouldn't be using, and I trust them with that and I don't have to get involved, which is great. We're doing like tech for good and design for good projects, but at the same time, we have to make money, right? We've got to pay ourselves, everyone's got needs. And I mentioned we have like a 3-to-1 pay ratio. But I find that what we do with client projects, we have open accounts at Outlandish. Is we say when we sell a day to a client, we tell them like 20% of that day is for our social value fund. So we have our own fund that we use to pay for projects. So we have a mix of commercial projects, which are for like big clients like a pensions company or big international charities. But then also we have really tiny clients that are like a mindfulness and wellbeing charity in Stratford. So there's like a real mix of the type of work we do. The system allows all the business side stuff to like happen in the background essentially. So when we sell a project, 50% is like the gross margin and 30% covers overheads and then 20% is surplus. So like in a co-op, we make surplus, we don't make profit. And then what we're able to do is reinvest the surplus. So it is pretty much like our own internal Kickstarter. So I worked at Outlandish for 3 months. I'll accrue money in my pot, and then at the end of the quarter, I can like make a proposal and say I want to do a new website for a charity. They ain't got any money, and it's going to cost 12 grand. So I'll put in 4 grand. And then essentially everyone that's worked at Outlandish also accrues money in their pot, so they can also put money in. So then people can propose any sorts of projects that they want, and people then put their money in and fund it. So our tech for good work mainly comes out of, rather than giving money away or trying to find clients and go like, it'd be great to work for them, we actually just self-start our own projects and pay ourselves to do it. So this is just an example of the co-pitch. So like I said, we all get sold onto projects, and then we say that's what we're going to deliver, and it costs that much money, and then we built our own like time tracking tool that allows us to track it. So we're able to like see how much it costs to do these nice projects and who's done what on the projects. But that's how much we've invested over like the last couple of years, which is a decent sized chunk of money for. There's 9 members, so 9 of us that like properly own Outlandish. When I joined, there was 4, so I was the 5th member. So Papua New Guinea is kind of like at the rough end of colonialism and is one of the most corrupt places. We have a contact at Ulster University that is kind of like out in the field on the ground. One of the projects that we've done for them was forced eviction, so people were essentially getting moved out of their villages and where they lived, so that new 5-star hotels could be built or something. And so we built a tool that allowed records to be collected, so like not just like, someone said it happened, actually like did a bit of like data collection and built like a tool that allows them to put that in, and then we'll try and come back to the project later to actually build up a bit of a picture about what has been going on rather than just loose accounts. We can actually detail what happened, when, who was involved, and actually see what is going on. Another project that we did that was also in Papua New Guinea was PNGI Central, and that was a website that essentially scrapes Companies House in Papua New Guinea, allows users to like cross-check who owns what and spot any patterns, which is pretty cool and quite risky. Like the client's still anonymous. I'm not sure whether we should be talking about it, but those projects are kind of like an example of like how far away it is. So like from the charity in Stratford to these kind of like on the ground organisations. Another project that we funded ourselves through the Kickstarter thing is this Airstrike alert system. So I think this was in collaboration kind of with Super Global. I didn't actually work on this, but I thought it was like a pretty decent project. Someone had identified a way of predicting possibly where airstrikes were going to happen, integration with Facebook tool, and 4,000 people signed up a day after it had launched. The advantages of being able to fund a project ourselves, so there's no clients for these projects, we're like paying ourselves to do them from the surplus that we make on our commercial work. So there's a real balance of like how much money we make, how much money we take home, what can we spend, and where do we spend it. Below, this is a browser plugin. So as you do in your shop, it pops up with ethical alternatives. So if you type in like Beats by Dre headphones, it pops up with a better alternative. I don't know any off my head. And that was a really nice project. So there's like a proper range in what we do, and also it can be like these big, massive projects that are hard to like get your head around, or something simple about offering decent headphones that work and are ethical. Tranquil Cities is an app about mindfulness and well-being. So we live in a pretty crowded city, and Tranquil Cities is trying to use data to identify low-level noise areas in London and low-level pollution areas in London, put it on a map, and then you can plan a walk home through the summer or go and sit somewhere that's like less polluted, less noisy for lunch if you so wish. And that is built on top of like 5.8 million data points that the devs work with, and then rendered in a little iPhone app, and then I just make the icons for it. We're going to layer over like planning applications. So if councils are thinking about building a massive shopping centre in the Quiet Park, you'll be able to then see that on the app and then start a petition and campaign against it with people that either like sit there for lunch, people that walk through it. And this isn't a funded one. This is a commercial client one, but it's kind of like the work we want to get into. We want to be like the good guys doing the good work for the good guys, rather than kind of like big agency working for the charity sector or something like that. So UNICEF and World Health Organization, they run this program called JMP, which is the Joint Monitoring Program. And essentially it takes pretty much all the countries in the world's data on sanitation and hygiene, and it all lived in a spreadsheet. And then people would download the spreadsheet and like try and figure out, you know, what the water supply is like in rural Mongolia or something. And this is a commercial project that we worked on where we took all that data and then queried the data. And also they're all based in like New York, Switzerland, and we're in Finsbury Park, London. And actually we had someone working with us in Sweden and Bath. You can do it from anywhere. Someone that works for us and he just cycles around Europe. I don't know how he does it. He's just cycles around, does a couple of days, and then he's off again. So School Cuts is a project that we funded ourselves again. And it came about because someone at the NUT, as it was then called, got in touch and said, look, the government are doing this new formula and it's going to have a massive impact. It's taking all the funding from like high-funded schools and then redistributing it. Rather than picking up the funding for all schools, it was taking money from some areas and redistributing it. And all this data was like openly available on the gov.uk site, like the Department for Education. We created a proposal, created a bucket, and then sent out a message saying, does anyone want to fund this project? A couple of people put money in. I think I put money in. And so we had like 10 grand, I think, of our own money to start what can we do with this data. So the data from the DFE is on the website. It's all in a spreadsheet. No one cares. They'd probably be on the news, someone like Channel 4 News saying, oh, schools are being cut. And no one cares. They're just waiting for Bake Off. Like, we're not bothered. Because it's too far removed, right? It's like data in a spreadsheet and schools, it's bad, terrible. So anyway, we got the data and we funded an MVP, essentially, of School Cut site. Essentially, you could go to the website and put in your postcode and see the school that you went to and see how badly that was getting affected. And then you could see the school that you didn't go to but your mates went to, where you live. And I think the key stats that we pulled out for each school, so there's like an overview, but when you went through to a school, it pulled up like how much it equated to per pupil, how many teachers' salaries might be, how many teachers might be at risk, because it was like, I think we based an average salary at 30k, so if it was like 70k, that's like 2.5 teachers.
So like it shared like real stats that we'd worked out from the government's data. And it was really good. Like when the NUT saw it, they were like, oh, bloody hell, can we add more features? So then we're like, well, actually, like we're not paying for it now. Like, so it actually turned into a commercial project. And that was really great because then this is a project that we made ourselves and then showed it to someone and like, we want to give you more money to explore further. I think this was like maybe 2015. And then there was the election, right? 2016, there was the election. I'm like, oh, what can we do with this? You know, we've got school data. What can we do? What features would make it better? So we essentially then, every school you went to, we put on a button that said, email your MP. Because we like overlaid constituency data with the school data and found out that this school is in where I live, in my constituency, this is my MP. So we made the feature, I sent him click the button, email your MP, find out what he's going to do with it. It's my MP. And I got a really big letter back from my MP saying that the website would appear to be nothing more than irresponsible scaremongering. And I thought that was pretty good feedback from my local MP. From that, when the election was announced, we then were able to do the same thing but for candidates. So Green, Labour, Tory, we were able to like display all of them and we could see who has said they're going to oppose school cuts. Like who is actually, we got the data from They Work For You, so you can find out all their email addresses and like just spam them. And this is just a snapshot that I took today of Finsbury Park, so we updated the data the other day. This site actually, like in the run up to the election, I think it had like over 3.5 million page views or something like that. So it was like, you know, it was getting shared everywhere. Like it kind of like took off, you know, it's big things that parents are keen on. You know, how much funding is your school getting versus the other school? And so for the School Cuts website, we actually worked with an agency called the Small Axe, and they're also a co-op, but they specialise in like digital marketing stuff, getting stuff seen like in front of loads of people. And I think they made like some Facebook campaigns that got seen by like 4.5 million people or something in a couple of days on the run up to the election, which was wicked because like we don't do that, but it's great that they're now working on with our client because they're also a co-op and they also have like this thing about reinvesting the surplus. Everyone owns it like Outlandish. And when we became a co-op, we just kind of got on the blower and rang loads of other co-ops and were like, hey, you're a co-op, we're a co-op. You know, should we meet? Should we get together? This was actually last year's, but the founding meeting kicked off in 2016. And essentially, loads of worker co-ops all met in a massive stately home in Yorkshire. It was wicked. And we all just discussed, like, how do we work together? Like, we don't want to compete. Some of us are design agencies, some of us, like, so there's multiple skill sets available, you know, people, and they all own the business together. CoTech allows us all to scale together. So by all repurposing our business models into this kind of like open, cooperative way, we're able to scale up for big projects and scale down. Having like a network of other co-ops that are pretty much like us, they're all owned by the workers, and they all do like stuff from like education apps to VR to print. A lot do print for charities, heaps and heaps of stuff. So the remit to get in is if you work in tech and you're owned by the workers. So anyone here that's kind of like, oh, I'm going to start a business, I didn't know about co-ops before I joined Outlandish, and for me, I think if we're talking about design for good, but we just want to do like the projects, I'd question about like how good is it being a director of a company or exploiting all your workers and freelancing everything out when you could do it this other way. So that was CoTech Meetup last year, where we all decided as well that we're going to adopt the kind of same co-budget stuff. So now the co-ops in CoTech are now starting to propose projects and fund them themselves. So we're all essentially profit sharing our profits. The power of CoTech, I think, is really, really wicked. And there's a lot of different things happening. The space downstairs where we work in Finsbury Park became available. So someone said, I propose that we get the lease for the first year and just see how it goes. So we got the lease, and we've set up this thing called Space 4. It's like a tech accelerator, but for cooperatives and charities and for people doing good. So it's on the first floor of our building. It's available for desk hire, and we have loads of meetups. We have a monthly CoTech Meetup, which are really good. We have lunches together, and there's a lot of kind of like stuff happening that is all good and all cooperatives as well, which I think has been it's been amazing to be able to do that with our surplus again. Like, so we make profit on commercial projects, we either fund tech for good projects, or just try and do something a bit different. The design for good, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, I saw a great print campaign, or I don't know, like, you know. But then I never questioned, what about the studio that made it? What about, like, their supply chain? I didn't really care before. So, but I think that's what I'm interested in now. Like, I'm actually quite interested in it, rather than, like, you know, I'm happily to make an MVP just to get it out, test the water, rather than finesse it, just to get feedback. And I think because we're a co-op and we're all working together, we're able to do that. Like, we don't have any bosses. We're all able to just, like, talk to each other and actually decide what we want to do for the best of the co-op. There you go.